Okay, so good afternoon everyone. Magandang hapon. Salamat Tenga Hari. Welcome to another SEARCA Agriculture and Development Seminar Series, or ADSS. The ADSS encourages the presentation and discussions of development and research issues, as well as their implications for agricultural and rural development and natural resources management. For more than 20 years now, the ADSS has been facilitating a vibrant exchange of scientific and practical knowledge in agriculture and development within and even beyond the Los Baños science community. Thus, we encourage you to engage in the open forum after our speaker's presentation. My name is Stoix, and I'll be your MC for this afternoon's seminar. This is ADSS on free trade agreements, importance and impacts on the agriculture sector. We are delighted to welcome you to today's presentation on free trade agreements. This is a timely topic with far-reaching implications for our agriculture sector and broader development goals. We are also being live streamed via SEARCA's Facebook page. A few house rules before we start. Please put your phone on silent mode. Reserve your questions for the open forum. Kindly use the microphone or write them on a piece of paper, which is available at the registration area. For any social media sharing, please use the hashtag SEARCAADSS. This seminar is also being recorded and will be made available on SEARCA's YouTube channel. You may subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. All right, let's now dive into our presentation. So let me introduce our esteemed speaker. Mr. Muhamed Salim bin Mohd Ali is the Chief Executive Officer of the International Tropical Fruits Network, or TFNet, since July 2025. He brings almost 20 years of experience in the plantation, commodities, and agriculture sector, with expertise in international trade and relations, market strategies, trade compliance, and development of agricultural policies at national and international levels. Prior to his appointment as CEO, Mr. Salim was the acting Undersecretary of the International Division of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security in Malaysia. He also represented Malaysia in The Hague, Netherlands, as the Agricultural Counselor from March 2020 to 2024. He received his MBA from Putra Business School and was bestowed with the President's Awards as the Best Master's Student. He also received various awards for his excellence in public service. He's also the current President of the Philatelic Society of Malaysia. Let us all welcome Mr. Muhamed Salim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good evening to all of you. Firstly, thank you very much for attending my talk today. I thought that maybe 10 people will attend, but I am surprised to see so many young faces who are really excited and interested to know about free trade agreements. My previous involvement with free trade agreements, basically in relation to the agriculture sector, started many years ago. I was the lead negotiator for Malaysia for chapters on sanitary and phytosanitary, which is one of the chapters under free trade agreements. I will explain to you later. And I was the lead for a few important free trade agreements, such as the Malaysia-Korea FTA, Malaysia-EU FTA, European Union, and also CPTPP for Costa Rica's accession. So based on my previous knowledge about FTAs, I was given an opportunity to present this topic in front of all of you, but I have modified to tailor to FTA and the Philippines. So just to let you know that I'm not an expert in Philippines, but I will try my best because this is also based on my own reading and research on the issues that has arisen with regards to free trade agreement between Philippines and also other countries. Okay. Okay, first and foremost, how many of you have heard about FTAs? Can I see by a raise of hands? Okay, wrong question because too many of you raise your hand. How many of you have not heard about what is an FTA? Okay, now I'm scared because everybody is already ready with question. Okay, so anyway, an FTA is basically, as you know, is a trade negotiation. It's an agreement that needs to be reached by both parties, and basically, each of the negotiating parties will be having a set of products that they would like to request for favorable treatments. So, for example, let's say if Philippines and Korea has an FTA, so Philippines has a set of products that they would like to get a reduction in tariffs, reduction in import duties, maybe easier market access, lesser non-tariff barriers, and so on. And on the other side, Korea might have their own things that they would like to request from the Philippines, and then you have a negotiation process. Okay, so basically what the textbook says is FTAs are the arrangements between two or more trading alliances that primarily agree to lessen or dispose of customs, tariff and non-tariff barriers on substantial trade between them. Also, exactly what I mentioned just now. So later we will have a look at what are the components of having an FTA. So basically, on the broader picture, why FTAs are important? Because first is competition on a global level. Everybody is competing right now. All countries want to have an FTA. Imagine if you don't have an FTA with another trading country, investors will be scared to go in, because if that country doesn't have a free trade agreement with another country, then you are risking all your investment in the country that doesn't have this agreement. Because in FTAs, there are mechanisms to settle disputes whenever there is some kind of investment going on, or whether there is a breach on intellectual property rights and so on. There are mechanisms for you to bring this case to the World Trade Organization to be resolved on an international level. So you just imagine, let's say if Philippines doesn't have an FTA with another country, investors from Philippines will be thinking twice whether to invest in that country or not. So FTAs are very important to set healthy competition on a global level, also to eliminate global monopolies, because by having FTAs, it provides fairer chances to other industries as well, and also it will enhance global growth. Next. Okay, so these are chapters related to agriculture sector in free trade agreement. A free trade agreement is basically an agreement. So during an agreement, in the agreement process, there are many chapters. So one team will be looking at trade in goods. This will be maybe mostly people who are involved in international trade. Maybe you have Ministry of Trade here in the Philippines, so there will be people from there, including some people from the legal departments, some people from customs. So they will form a team to sit and negotiate. Then you have, of course, you have rules of origin. Rules of origin also is important in free trade agreements, because when you say that this product is made in the Philippines, it must satisfy a minimum value content, regional value content. The normal regional value content is around 40%. That means you must have at least 40% of the raw material in that product for you to claim that this is made in Philippines. You cannot take from Thailand and put a chop made in Philippines. So that is, you are taking other countries' product and doing it. So for that, there is a mechanism for that also, rules of origin. And then of course, you have sanitary and phytosanitary. Sanitary and phytosanitary is a very important chapter in agriculture, because this chapter deals with safety. Safety of the plant or the meat or anything that can be consumed. It is under SPS. So there are strict regulations to make sure that the what do you call, the food that we are importing in, the livestock that we are importing in, the plant, vegetables, the fruits that we are importing in is free of risk and safe to be consumed by human. Okay, and then of course we have technical barriers to trade. Okay, now who has heard about technical barriers to trade? Anybody? Okay, I will explain. We have trade in goods up there. Trade in goods means, let's say you want to trade with me. Let's say I am Malaysia, so you are from the Philippines. So you have pineapple and I have durian. So you say that can you lower my duties if I were to export my pineapple to your country? Now is 10%. Can you lower it to 5%? Because if you lower the duty by 5%, many of my farmers will be able to export because you will get more profit. Okay, understand? Eh? Okay, now I will say that I can do that, but provided if you allow my durian to go down from 12% to 6%. Are you agreeable? Now, maybe if it is straightforward, you can agree. But what happens if you have many durian producers? If I go in with my durian, which is much cheaper in your country, then your local producers will be at a disadvantage because you cannot compete the price. So before agreeing to my 6% or I agreeing to your 5%, I will have to go back and do industry consultation, ask associations, ask producers, ask many stakeholders whether can we do this? Can we comply to what Philippines is asking? So this is a negotiation process. It takes many rounds of negotiation. I remember we had one FTA negotiation which took more than 30 rounds of negotiation. 30 rounds of negotiation means normally one negotiation is done in the home country. The following negotiation is done by the partner country. So you imagine first negotiation, second, third, fourth, until 34 or 36 6, I can't remember. That is, and it took almost 8 years to conclude, because in between they didn't agree to a certain thing. So deadlock. So went back. After that, economics, things changed, and then came back for negotiation. So it's a long process. And then, as I was mentioning, technical barriers to trade means, okay, now we are talking about the duties. Let's say I give to you, okay, it's okay, you want your pineapple to be 5%, you know what, I will give you 0%, so that you don't have to pay anything. It's better for you, right? So, okay, you say that, oh, thank you very much, you give me 0%. I wanted 5%, but you giving me 0. Yeah, it's no problem. But I will ask about some other duty reduction for some other products. Okay, it's okay. So now, I give you 0 duty, you are happy to export, but when you export, then I say, wait, does your pineapple has a global gap certification? You say, global gap? What is this certification? I don't know what is this. Oh, if you want to enter Malaysia, you must have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 checklist. At the end of the day, you cannot do that. So what is the use of getting the 0% duty? Because still you cannot go in because there are technical barriers to trade. Trade is okay, but now I put in technical barriers so that you cannot send your product. So this is also a chapter. Each chapter is, I think, I can remember some of them are maybe around 20, some of them with annexes can go up to 30 pages, but it's all legal. The wording is all legal. So you have to be very careful. Shall, will, shall aim to, these are all different words with different weightage. Shall comply to, agree to comply. So these are all words that you have to be careful during the negotiation process. Okay, and then also you have things like economic cooperation, where you discuss with your partner country. We want to do training on this aspect. Let's say Philippines is good in banana and pineapple, so we want to have economic cooperation in terms of capacity building, to learn from you. And Philippines is interested in Malaysia's maybe I don't know, mangosteen plantation. So we have this kind of thing. Of course, this is not only related to agriculture. This is related to everything, including engineering, including medicine, pharmaceutical, including public transportation, and so on. So FTA is the whole thing. There is no such thing as a FTA only for agriculture. So all this chapter, even trade in goods, is not about agriculture alone. They have in trade in goods, you have several chapters. The chapters goes by the HS code of the customs duty book. Let's say you have chapter 1 to chapter 10, and then chapter 10 to chapter 15. You have on agriculture, you have on electronics, you have on on steel, you have on rice. There are many chapters on livestock. So it is the whole thing. A free trade agreement is a trade agreement which is inclusive of everything. But for today's presentation, we just try to narrow down to agriculture. Okay. So next. Okay. So basically, FTA in the agriculture context is important because it influences on the food safety standards. As I mentioned to you, the sanitary and phytosanitary chapter is there to safeguard on that. And then on production systems, on farmers' livelihoods, on investment flows, and on food security. This is also important. Okay, later I will explain to you. Okay, this is another important aspect. It's about expanding market access. Let's say you have trading with another country, and right now you are only able to export certain products. But with the free trade agreement, now you are able to export more products because FTAs reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers, enabling agricultural products to enter partner markets at more competitive prices. Just as I mentioned to you just now about the trade, about trade in goods, about duty reduction, about adding non-tariff barriers. So in an FTA, before this, there were so many red tapes for you to go in. But with an FTA, now we simplify things. Why do we simplify things? Because I want to gain something from you, and you also want to gain something from me. So we do it win-win situation. That is why FTAs is very important, especially for trading partners. Okay, so for example, we can have a look at AFTA. AFTA is ASEAN Free Trade Area. Now, there are several types of free trade agreements. There are free trade agreements which is country to country. For example, Philippines and Japan. This kind of FTA is called a bilateral FTA. Philippines, Korea. Philippines, India. Philippines, China, for example. These are all bilateral. One country and one country. There are also free trade agreements which is done on a regional basis. For example, AFTA. In AFTA, all the members are all ASEAN countries, including Philippines. So, normally when there is a negotiation process, let's say if it is a regional negotiation on ASEAN level, so what happens is, you can negotiate, but beside you, you have Vietnam, you have Thailand, you have Brunei, you have Malaysia. So when you do this kind of negotiation, okay, let's say all these countries, when they try to do a negotiation, the aim is different. The aim is they want to try to facilitate trade among themselves, all the countries. So in AFTA, they have decided that they want to try and make all the duties zero. So they are very, very particular about reducing the tariffs to become zero in future, so that trading can be almost free among ASEAN countries. Because this is the way how we can strengthen the ASEAN market. Okay? So there are also FTAs like ASEAN-China. So there is also a regional FTA. So you have ASEAN, all the ASEAN countries negotiating with China alone. Now, in this kind of scenario, what happens is when you have this kind of negotiation, so Vietnam says that I want to give this more to China. But then Thailand say, no, you cannot do that. Because if you do this, then I will have problem. So, at the end of the day, we agree to something. But in order to get better benefit, maybe Vietnam will tell China, China, we sign this regional first, ASEAN and China. After this, we do bilateral. Because I have certain interest from you and you have certain interest from me. So normally, in a bilateral FTA, you get more benefit than in a regional. But regional is a good way to start because it puts standards. For example, you know already, okay, under ASEAN, we are doing this. Under bilateral, we cannot go lower than this. We have to go better than ASEAN. So it is always like that in negotiations. Okay, next. Okay, enhancing competitiveness and farm income. Okay, this one is there's an example like EU-Chile FTA. Just like the example I gave to you, ASEAN-China. Now this is EU, the whole block, 27 countries with Chile from Latin America. So Chile, they went into an FTA with European Union and they got a very good deal for them to have preferential access to European markets to export their tropical fruits and fresh fruits. So this is one of the example of how FTAs can enhance the competitiveness and the farm income for the smallholders. Okay. Okay. At the same time, it also promotes investment and value additions. Okay. So this is another type of agreement. It's a regional agreement, CPTPP, Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. So if you remember, many years ago, there were a lot of issues going on with TPPA, Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, because US was a member of TPPA, so many countries came in, including Philippines is here also, Canada is here also. So many countries wanted to go in and be in the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreements, TPPA. But along the way, there were problems. For example, in Malaysia, the US said that you cannot use generic drugs, medicine. In Malaysia, we use generic drugs to give to our hospital patients because it is cheap and affordable and the government is subsidizing all that. US said, no, you have to buy the original drug. So original drug is very expensive. So many countries didn't agree. Why did they do that? Because the drugs originally are manufactured in their country. GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer, everything is coming from there. You see? So because of that, US didn't agree and then US pull out. So instead of TPPA, it became CPTPP with a few other countries joining in and making it making it into a pack. Okay. Export growth and diversification. So FTAs also enable countries to diversify export destinations and reduce reliance on single markets. So when you have FTAs, let's say regional FTAs, so instead of having one country to rely on as your traditional trading partner, now you have many countries opening up for you because you are in the so-called in the pack, like CPTPP just now. Okay. Same goes to ASEAN-China. Now, by having ASEAN-China, so ASEAN countries are also able to trade with China and have a better preference for trading. Okay, and then of course you have improvement in standards and productivity. Why is it? Because when you have free trade agreements, it also comes with standards. Certain chapters, like I mentioned just now, like non-tariff barriers, SPS, sanitary and phytosanitary, they put a certain standard. If you want to export your tropical fruits, you must make sure that it is free from certain kind of chemicals or pesticides, which is harmful for human consumption. So in order for you to be able to export, of course, you will do some domestic consultation, you know, the Department of Agriculture will go down to the farmers and tell them that, look, please do not use this kind of pesticides because it is not acceptable if we want to export, you know. Start using biopesticides or pesticides that are more, you know, that has lower chemical content or something like that. So in other words, there is improvement in standards, not only in farm level, in fact in processing also. When you have processed or semi-processed, you know, you need to comply to the labeling, packaging requirements of the country. So your products needs to list out the ingredients according to international standards. You cannot put there permitted coloring. I don't know who permit the coloring, but people say permitted coloring. Seasoning in ingredients when you buy local produce, not for export standard. Seasoning, what kind of seasoning? What is it? But if you want to export internationally, you need to list down seasoning. What is this seasoning? Monosodium glutamate or what? Coloring E101, E103, some kind of this thing. There must be. It has to follow international standards. Okay, value chain integration. Okay, value chain also is one of the major issues when it comes to exporting. Sometimes we have people waiting in downstream line to process, but raw material is not available. Sometimes there are too many raw materials. There are no people to undertake processing. So value chain is very important. So when you want to trade with the country, you know what you are negotiating. You must be ready at home. You must be ready with the infra. Okay. Okay. Now, although FTAs are good generally, I would say that FTAs are very good, but there are certain precautions that you also have to be aware of. For example, pressure on small and import sensitive producers. Now, trade liberalization, which happens in FTA, we have to liberalize trade by reducing duties, by making things easier to be exported, by reducing red tapes, you know, to export. But at the same time, when you implement subsidy within your own country, okay, so this will make things more difficult for trading partners. For example, maybe let's say in Malaysia we get subsidized inputs for farming and things like that. So if you use the subsidy and produce, of course you will produce at a lower price, right? So when you produce at a lower price and then when you export to another country, what is going to happen? The country will be having a more cheaper products than what they already have in their country. So their farmers will say, we cannot compete with this because let's say the rice is too cheap coming in, or maybe the chilies from Vietnam coming into the Philippines is half the price of the chilies produced by farmers in Vietnam, so in Philippines. So what is going to happen? If this happens, there's so many repercussions. Sometimes in sensitive commodities, the government can be in trouble. So this is something that we really need to look carefully. There are some measures under free trade agreements, which is called as anti-dumping law. That means you have too many cheap products, you dump into another country and cause problems to their market. So that is actually not allowed, because you can bring that case for dispute settlement mechanism, which is also a chapter under free trade agreement, dispute settlement mechanism, where you need to undergo arbitration process to World Trade Organization, and then they will have a court to decide. There's so many things. So yeah, so these are some of the issues that you need to be aware of. Also, food security concerns. If you are getting a very good deal of importing food, for example, to your country, it's so cheap to bring in food until your own farmers do not want to grow anything. So in case if there is crisis or emergency, you will not have any food left in your country. If there are sanctions, or last time when there was a pandemic, all countries were thinking of not exporting because they want to protect their own food security, right? So that is why normally many of ASEAN countries, we have blueprint or roadmap on agriculture, how we want to try and increase the food security in our country, to the extent that in Malaysia, the Ministry of Agriculture is called Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, because Malaysia is also a rice producing country, but the production of rice is really little compared to the population that we have. Okay, right? Okay, now we go into a little bit of free trade agreements which involves the Philippines. Just now I gave you a brief introduction of what FTA is all about. I hope if I can just recap, I've explained to you what is an FTA, what are the chapters normally under FTA, how FTA is negotiated, the types of free trade agreements that are in an FTA, also the advantages of having an FTA, the disadvantages, or it's not disadvantages, but you need to be cautious of this kind of things, your farmers' livelihood, food security, and so on. So now we go into the Philippine experience of FTAs. So basically, Philippines generally fares positively in FTAs, leveraging from lower trade barriers. Okay, so also attract investments through several FTAs like AFTA, RCEP, and others. So AFTA is regional, RCEP is regional. Just now I mentioned to you bilateral and regional. Okay. Let's see one by one. So AFTA, okay. In AFTA is quite easy because we are among ASEAN. So ASEAN, we are very close. So we try to we try to make things easy for us to trade among ASEAN countries. Now, if we have a customs book with all the HS codes for you to export, ASEAN has come up with their own customs book, which is called ASEAN Harmonized Tariff Nomenclature. That means it's easier for us to trade among ourselves because, I don't know, maybe, in Malaysia, they have a certain kind of product which is not listed somewhere under the normal books. So we in ASEAN, it is easier for us to understand our own listing. And also, we have a special section for the duty reductions. So normally, when ASEAN trade with ASEAN, it is always lower tariff than other regional FTAs. Okay. So Philippines has also benefited significantly. So over 99% of goods, not only agriculture, all the goods, the tariff is between 0 to 5. Why there are some still at 5%? Why not all at 0? Because, as I mentioned, you need to protect your domestic industry. Sometimes your domestic industry is not ready to face the challenges. For example, China. If you know China can produce mass amount and the cost is just a fraction of what you can produce here, if you allow those products to come in, you kill your own industry. Okay. Okay, now we look at RCEP. I have also mentioned about RCEP just now. So RCEP integrates the Philippines into the world's largest trading bloc. RCEP is the world's largest trading bloc. Okay, so through RCEP, Philippines managed to improve the rules of origin and supply chain integration. I mentioned about rules of origin just now. For you to know, for you to qualify that the product is made in Philippines, you need to fulfill certain requirements. So that is rules of origin. So by going into RCEP, because they have they have a chapter on rules of origin, which perhaps makes Philippines easier to comply with, or makes Philippines have their own standard and procedures domestically to ensure that the rules of origin process is in place. So Philippines has also benefited from this, and also they have greater opportunities for export of processed coconut products and also fruit preparations. Okay, because RCEP is a big trading bloc. There is also Japan-Philippines Economic Partnership Agreement, JPEPA. Now, is this a bilateral FTA or regional FTA? All of you A. Okay, so with Japan, Philippines have gained significant benefits, primarily through increased market access of Philippines export to Japan. Maybe before this, Philippines did not get much market access to Japan, but through this, okay, before I go into that, this is called Economic Partnership Agreement. Actually, there are so many different type of names that they use. Some of them use free trade agreement. For example, Malaysia, Korea, free trade agreement, MKFTA. We also have bilateral with India, but it's not called FTA, it's called Malaysia-India Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement. But it is also FTA, but they don't want to call MIFTA, they want to call it MICECA. So, okay. So, the same thing, this is Japan-Philippines Economic Partnership Agreement. So, it becomes JPEPA. Okay. So this FTA also managed to reduce tariffs on several agricultural products such as bananas, pineapples, and also protecting the rice sector. Another one is, this is better, Philippines-South Korea FTA. But unfortunately, you have to read it full. Otherwise, you want to try? Make an abbreviation of this? FTA. Doesn't sound nice. Okay, so this took effect on 31st December 2024. This is relatively quite a new FTA. Malaysia also concluded somewhere around this time in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. No, this year, 2025, will be concluded. So for this, also Philippines has benefited from tropical fruit exports and also from agricultural trade-related matters and also technical cooperation. And just now we saw there was a chapter on economic cooperation. So Korea is very interested in economic cooperation and also in bioeconomy, because when we were negotiating Malaysia-Korea FTA, we didn't have any experience because we have never had a chapter on bioeconomy, and Korea made that chapter on bioeconomy as a first chapter in any FTA. So it was quite challenging because there's so many terms in bioeconomy. Sometimes we also understand, so we have to interpret one by one. What is agri-bioeconomy? What is green bioeconomy? So it was quite challenging to do the chapter. Okay, all right. Okay, then we go to ASEAN-China Free Trade Agreement. Okay, this one is Malaysia also is part of ASEAN-China Free Trade Agreement, but this one I kind of like the acronym. This one we call it ACAFTA. So ACAFTA, okay, under ACAFTA, they have a different approach. They have a program which is called Early Harvest Program, EHP. Under EHP, 90% of tariff is reduced for agriculture produce because they want to look at food security. So 90% of the tariff was reduced, and because some of the food items, the tariff is too high. So in order to make trade easier, so they reduce the duties, because some countries are very protective. Some countries, if you are very protective of everything, then you cannot enter into free trade agreement because you cannot offer anything. This cannot. So it becomes very difficult to trade with. Okay. So yeah, many countries benefited from this because bananas, pineapples, and mangoes, the tariff was reduced because we are exporting this to China. So good benefits because China reduced 90% of the tariff. They don't put tariff because China can put a high tariff. Let's say you want to export your mango to China, Philippines, you want to export, okay, I put 30%. So you put 30%. So it's very difficult for my mango to enter your market. That is why we negotiate. This is free trade agreement. What does free trade agreement means? Free trade agreement means basically it's free. No duty. Zero. Everything zero. I trade with you. But of course, it's very unlikely to happen because we will be protecting some, we cannot just give everything and, so when you ask China to zero everything, they say, no, I cannot do that. So if you cannot do that, how can I do that, So it is very difficult. So it is a free trade agreement. That is why in this free trade agreement, every 5 years, there is a review process. So normally, governments will sit down again and say, it's already 5 years. Let's review. Because now Philippines is no longer planting banana. We planting durian. Maybe in another 5 or 10 years, industry might change. Your direction or the national country policy, depending on who is the prime minister or leader, might change. For Malaysia, at one point, we were into agriculture and then we went into modernization and then we went to a different thing and then now it's becoming a different thing. So it depends. Things change. And when things change, this agreement might not be of relevance. So we need to revisit and relook and renegotiate. Okay? Now, under ASEAN China, okay, this is one thing that you also need to know, that when you are in a regional FTA, although we are trading with the same country, with China, but China is also with Malaysia, with Thailand, with Vietnam, with Philippines, with Indonesia, with so many countries. So there will be a time that you see that one country is benefiting more than others. Okay? That country is benefiting more and the others are unable to catch up. Because maybe they have better infra, they have better this thing, better thing. That is, to me, is better bilateral lah. Because if you want to do regional, we already negotiate all this. Supposedly, we should be helping each other. Say Vietnam say, you are not doing well in dragon fruit. I am doing very well exporting. I'm getting a lot of orders, so I want to supply. Maybe I can help you to help your farmers to grow better quality, better yielding dragon fruits. For you also to be able to enter the market. But then also seldom happens. Sometimes countries, they also want to monopolize on the economy. So in this kind of situation, ASEAN as a platform, they should try to look at how we can share the cake better. Some countries get more, some countries maybe lesser a bit, but not too huge a gap. Some countries they hardly benefit, some countries they benefit more. There's inequality in this. But we are in the same regional free trade agreement. Okay. Some of the key lessons. Okay. So FTAs deliver the greatest benefit when paired with domestic productivity and competitiveness measures. There's no point in people negotiating, sitting down and trying to do this and that, trying to get the best deal, but domestically we are still unable to do it. So, if you cannot produce domestically, why do you negotiate for that in the first place? You could have shifted to something else, to gain more benefit. So we must know whether our industry is ready or not ready for this. Okay? Export gains tend to concentrate in high value, well organized subsectors. For example, in Malaysia, we have palm oil sector, which is very well organized, The companies are big, so it's easier for them to gain from free trade agreements. But certain subsectors which are very new, which are emerging, which has not been assisted so much, this subsector might struggle in an FTA. Okay. The other thing is smallholders and import sensitive sectors require targeted adjustment and support policies. So this is again, we have the big corporations, we also have smallholders, we have farmers who are also producing but on a smaller scale, maybe for a domestic consumption level. So if you do not assist them and try to enhance them, then you will never be able to satisfy the demand which is out there. Okay, so governments must strike a careful balance between trade liberalization, food security, rural development, and inclusive growth. So this is to support the whole value chain. Bilateral FTAs should be subjected to periodic reviews to assess their socio-economic impacts. As I told you, maybe after 5 years, you see that this FTA has not really benefited in this area. There's always a review process. Okay. At the same time, regional FTAs should be examined to address uneven gains and to promote fairer wealth distribution through coordinated regional mechanisms. This is the one I mentioned just now. In a regional FTA, some countries gain more, some countries they do not gain any. They gain lesser. So, as a region, we should sit down and see and monitor and try to come up with a mechanism on how fellow ASEANs can be able to share the piece of cake, right? Okay. Right. Okay, conclusion. So FTAs are powerful instruments for transforming agriculture. Evidence from regional and country experiences, particularly in the Philippines, demonstrate that FTAs can expand markets, raise incomes, modernize production systems, and strengthen value chains. However, without adequate safeguard and domestic support, this is very important, they can also expose vulnerabilities among small farmers and sensitive subsectors. This is also something that I already mentioned just now. So, a strategic inclusive approach to FTA negotiation and implementation is essential and important to ensure agriculture remains competitive, resilient, and socially sustainable. So it is not about negotiating, it is not about getting the best deal. You have to look back, look at your domestic industry, look at what kind of support system is required, and address on it. Okay, I think Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed Salim, for an informative and educational presentation. So as a recap, Mr. Salim presented the positive impacts as well as the challenges of the free trade agreements on the agriculture sector. So he listed about three for the positive and I think two for the um, on things that can be improved. Also, Mr. Salim presented the Philippine experience. So, do you remember the mga acronyms that he mentioned? Some are a little bit mahirap na bigkasin. So, there are some of the agreements. We have the AFTA or the ASEAN Free Trade Area. We have also the RCEP or the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and bilateral FTAs with Japan, and South Korea. So these are just the examples. And lastly, Mr. Salim highlighted several key lessons based on the Philippine experience, which he just presented a while ago, and the strategic considerations to ensure that the agriculture remains competitive, resilient, and socially sustainable. So once again, thank you, sir, for your highly informative talk. Okay, so with that, we now open the floor for our audience comments, insights, and questions. Please use the microphone located along the aisle. So please introduce yourself and the organization or the institution you are affiliated with. Okay, for the Q&A, anyone? Okay, we have an online question for sir. Sir, may we ask you again to come in front? Okay, so one question is about the indicators used. What indicators should be used to measure the real success of free trade agreements in agriculture?
Okay. Basically, normally there are around three major indicators to look at the success of free trade agreements. First is export value. How much did we manage to export? Import value, how much did we manage to import? And also the balance of trade. That means trade between me, let's say Philippines and the other country, Japan, for example, how much is the balance of trade? Is it in favor of me or in favor of Japan? So those are traditional indicators. But those kind of indicators are just to give you as a general guideline. The real indicators should also be the real indicators that should also be examined are such as the output or the productivity level at farm. Has that increased? Okay, the quality of the products that are being exported. What is the percentage of rejection during export? Okay, those are the kind of values that we should look at. The productivity of agriculture produce per hectare. Who is looking at that? Those are indicators that are more important than how much we export, how much we import, and what is the balance of trade between me and you. So these are important indicators that needs to be looked into in FTAs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Questions from our audience? Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Assalam.
I am Nursananin, all the way from Tawi-Tawi, and I am also currently enrolled in the PhD here at the UPLB. So, because I'm from Tawi-Tawi, this is my question, sir. Given that Tawi-Tawi is geographically closer to Malaysia than to Manila here, how can FTAs like RCEP and ACFTA be strategically leveraged to formalize the strengthen cross-border trade, agricultural trade in BARM, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, while protecting small island farmers from unfair competition?
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Now, we have free trade agreements, but it is not limited only to free trade agreements. We also have economic cooperation mechanisms. For example, if Philippines, there is something called as BIMP IAGA, BIMP EAGA. I can't remember what is the full name, but it is Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines. Let me see. E should be economic growth. G, wait, let me see. BIMP EAGA. Okay, BIM IAGA. Okay, BIM IAGA is Brunei, Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN area. So, rather than looking at FTAs, where everybody is trying to compete to get better tariff, better this and that, your concern should be in developing the smallholders to be able to sustainably produce. So for that, FTA is not a right mechanism. The correct mechanism should be economic cooperations like this, because this is where all the four countries will sit down and discuss on how do we enhance cooperation and trade among our blocks first. Because in FTAs, normally the clear winners will be the big companies, not the real smallholders and rural farmers, because they still have a long way to go before they are able to export their produce. Okay, so in your case, I think the best platform will be economic cooperation platforms like BIM IAGA, like I mentioned. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Pauline Enoza. I am from the Department of Agricultural and Applied Economics. And correct me if I'm wrong. This from my own understanding. You said earlier that implementing subsidies on smallhold producers will cause many repercussions, because when they produce on a lower price, there would be many cheap products that will be exported. In the Philippine context, most farmers are poor and they need support from the government and capital in order to produce. So my question is the implementation of subsidies really negatively impact the trade landscape? And if yes, could you share some other systems or policies that you think would really uphold Philippine farmers and our local produce, and at the same time will make the Philippines competitive in international trade? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I have a disclaimer. I'm not an expert in Philippines market, but I can try to answer that. First is the issue of subsidies. Subsidies under World Trade Organization, it is monitored very closely, especially if you try to give subsidies, because certain subsidies, let's say subsidies given to fishermen, for example, results in overcatching and overfishing. Okay, there are some claims that happens. Okay, for farmers, countries must be smart in implementing their own subsidies. Okay, we know that many countries are implementing subsidies. Even Malaysia also is implementing subsidies. Philippines is implementing subsidies. Many of ASEAN countries is implementing subsidies. But the subsidies must not aim to lower the price. The subsidies, or we can call it technical assistance, that can help them to produce better quality crops, for example. Because what happens is, if you are a mass producer, let's say you produce rice on a massive basis and the government is subsidizing you, and you export your rice to another country, the other country will feel the same. It's too cheap. The produce is coming in because government is subsidizing. The farmer still gets the same price, but it's subsidized. So farmers still make profit. And why is subsidy given to farmers? For example, rice farmers. I was in the rice and paddy division 6-7 years ago, and I was also looking after the welfare of the rice farmers. You see, there are certain crops that can yield good profit with minimum work. Not to say minimum work, but less work. For example, if you plant palm oil, after a few years you get the full fruit bunches, and then you sell it to the mills, and then you get a good price. Okay, and there are many leaves, and it is shady. But if you become a paddy farmer, it's a really easy job. It's a very difficult job. How many of you would want to be a paddy farmer here? Anybody can raise hand? Nobody wants to be. But government is also scared. If nobody wants to plant paddy and produce rice, what are we going to eat? So, to make sure that farmers go and plant, government heavily subsidize agriculture inputs, fertilizers, even seed to plant. It's also subsidized. Even the price, there is a minimum price for paddy. You cannot go lower than that. If the quality is not up to that mark, also you have to give a minimum price to support farmers. Why? Because we need rice. In Philippines, rice is a staple food, right? Am I right? Yes, huh? During the pandemic, did Philippines find difficulty in securing food security for rice? Yes. Now let me tell you, in Malaysia, everybody also eat rice. If government say, you know what, we don't have enough of rice, why don't for this 1 month, everybody only eat banana every day? Because it's carbohydrate also. Same. Rice is carbohydrate. Banana is also carbohydrate. I think after 2 weeks, many riots will happen and many people will fight among each other because it's not our staple food. Even shortage of rice can cause instability and insecurity. Some places, rural voters for the government, you don't take care of their welfare and subsidy, they might not vote for you and the government might topple in the next election. You wouldn't know. Geopolitics, right? So subsidies will be there, whether you like it or not, unless if you start planting paddy in air-conditioned room, maybe it's different, but right now it doesn't look like that. Okay, I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Carmelo George Esderder, studying BS Economics po. And for today, I would just like to ask, can you offer us more insights on how did the Trump tariffs affected ASEAN countries and ASEAN free trade agreements po? Thank you.
Okay, all right. So recently, there have been issues on tariffs that is being implemented by US. Tariffs are sometimes doesn't make sense. 3,000%. We are talking about 5% to 12% just now to negotiate. This one is put 3,000%, 200%. So now, why does this happen? Okay, if you impose tariffs like this, at the moment, in the World Trade Organization, WTO, there is supposed to be a body that looks after these matters. A legislative body, I can't remember the name of the council, is a special council to look at issues regarding this kind of disputes when you put this and that. Now, the issue here is this tribunal or arbitration body is not in place because the funding is supposed to come from the US government. The US is giving a lot of aid to many international organizations like World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, Even the World Trade Organization also is partly funded by the US, and they know that that mechanism is not there at the moment. So if they put any kind of figure, you cannot do anything. Otherwise, you just imagine the other countries, why they are just keeping quiet, why nobody is doing anything, why everybody is just following. Why? Because they know that you cannot drag them anywhere. It is not there, the mechanism to look at this under the World Trade Organization, because it is funded by the US. So they did their homework before doing that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Last one question. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mohamed. I'm Gabriel Carlos Moreno. You can call me Gab. I'm also an undergraduate student from the Department of Agriculture and Applied Economics. Just a continuation of the spirit of the question of the previous participant. I would also like to ask, with regards to the current situation, global situation right now, that there is a strong presence of U.S. dominance when it comes to what do you call this? When it comes to protectionism, and there is also Chinese dominance when it comes to goods being discounted at very low prices, and also there are reports of dumping also from China in many countries around the world. So my question is, to what extent can the regional integration mechanisms of the FTAs like AFTA and RCEP effectively shield Asian economy from the destabilizing impacts of the current US protectionism and Chinese dominance? That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I feel like I'm defending my PhD thesis. Okay. Anyway, basically, in all free trade agreements, as I previously mentioned also, there is a chapter on dispute settlement mechanism, DSM. So under dispute settlement mechanism, different countries have different level of seriousness when it comes to DSM. Among us Asian countries, we prefer to settle dispute through consultation among countries, and try to avoid from being dragged into. Okay, when there is arbitration, there are a lot of procedures. It is international court level, and it also involves a lot of costs. You need to appoint a panel of judges, panel of experts to debate. Depends on how the structure of the dispute settlement mechanism is being discussed in the FTA. Certain countries or certain blocs like the EU, they want dispute settlement mechanism, especially when they negotiate FTAs with Asian countries, because they want to safeguard so many things, because they are afraid that we will not be able to meet whatever we wrote or agreed to them in the agreement. We say, yeah, everything is okay, but at the end of the day, we are unable to do it. So these kind of things create trade destabilization and also disruption. So it all depends on how do you negotiate during the free trade agreement, FTA. Sometimes you are in one FTA, let's say RCEP, you are there, CPTPP also Philippines is there, you have two. So sometimes when it comes to certain products or certain issue, you might want to use this. Sometimes you might want to use this if the same country is also there. You get what I mean? So that is what certain countries do. They compare the FTAs that they have, which one is more favorable to them. US is, of course, very dominant, not only when it comes to copyrighted products, but also when it comes to GMOs, genetic modified organisms, right? So countries negotiating with US, they need to be prepared that this is definitely going to be one of the things that will be heavily negotiated, whether you can comply to that or not. See, if you are willing to do that, willing to sacrifice something, then you can go in. Same like China. China is a mass producer. Once they start producing, your industry is unable to compete because of their labor costs and also their cost for raw materials and so on. Okay, so it goes back to dispute settlement mechanism on how you want to dispute. If you know you are negotiating with China, of course you try to make good dispute settlement mechanism so that you are protected. Thank you.
Okay, so that ends our open forum. Let's give Mr. Salim a big round of applause. Okay, for the awarding of the certificate of appreciation and token of gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, may I kindly invite Dr. Nova Ramos, Head of the Training for Development Unit under the Education and Collective Learning Department of SEARCA. Allow me to read the citation on the certificate. The Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture awards this certificate of appreciation to Mr. Muhamed Salim bin Mohd Ali for sharing his expertise as speaker during the Agriculture and Development Seminar Series titled Free Trade Agreements, Importance and Impacts on the Agriculture Sector, held on 12 February 2026 at the SEARCA Samarn Room, UPLB Campus College, Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines, signed by Dr. Mercedita Sombilia, SEARCA Center Director. Okay, thank you very much again, sir. To our dear seminar attendees and guests, we would like to know your insights and takeaways from the seminar. You may share this through our feedback form by accessing the link of the link shown on the screen and through the QR code flashed in front. So you may take a photo of this one and you can accomplish it later until 5 p.m. Philippine time. Okay, if you've got the photo of this, let's have a group photo. Just stay on your seat. We will ask Mr. Salim to please sit in front. And for those who are sitting at the back, please sit on the vacant seats in front of you so that we can see your face. We have vacant seats here. Okay, once again, we would like to thank Mr. Mohammed Salim for sharing with us insightful presentation, coming and joining us this afternoon seminar. We look forward to welcoming you again on the 25th of February for another ADSS featuring Dr. Jaime Manalo IV, Scientist 2 and Head of the Socioeconomics Division of the Philippine Rice Research Institute. He will be presenting the research paper published in the Asian Journal of Agricultural Development, or AJAD, titled Understanding the Uptake of NSIC RC 160 Rice Variety Philippines. So once again, thank you very much for your participation. Please enjoy the light refreshments that we have prepared for you at the lobby. Good day, everyone. Terima kasih.
Come, let's build the center that we'd like to be. A place where you and me can work in harmony. Where everyone is proud to serve with dignity. Come, let's make this dream a reality. Fill our hearts and minds with a vision. Let our words below our mission. Leave our values on excellence and work, commitment and unity. Come share the stream for the senior region, extend it to the world throughout generations. Fill our hearts and minds with our vision. Side by side we stand for our mission. Leave our values on excellence in work, commitment and unity. Let's show the world we can. With God close at hand, we will grow together for the better.